Welcome to the NC Spin After Spin. Additional comments from our panelists just available on our website. I want to ask each of you, what do you wish you had said on last week's show, but you didn't? Cash Michael, we'll start with you.
Talking about the deaths in jail, the newspaper series, one of the problems they have in prison, or in jail, I should say, is that having properly trained personnel for those suffering from mental illness. More times than not, those are law enforcement personnel. And that does not surprise me that you don't have folks there properly trained to handle that, because even out in the street, law enforcement is not really trained well to handle people with mental illness. A lot of people have been shot to death because cops didn't know what to do. They were only trained to stop a threat, not to recognize that someone, you know, it might be a harm even to themselves before anybody else, and do something about it. So that's something that I feel should be looked at for sure. How do we properly train our law enforcement to deal with people with mental illness?
My hope is that this is going to cause a re-examination of that 2001 change in mental health policy, which frankly came as a result of a federal law that was passed. Dennis Wicker, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
Well, we talked a lot about the mental health and substance abuse problems that are happening in our jail system and the suicides that are occurring there, more or less a result of the drug abuse and from the mental illness. And this goes to the treatment of those folks who are captured in that setting. When I was lieutenant governor, we started a program in prison called DART. It was Drug Alcohol Recovery Treatment, and it's at Cherry Hospital in Goldsboro, North Carolina. They now have 300 beds. Any court-ordered probationer or any parolee, as a condition of their parole, if they want to go there to receive treatment for substance abuse or mental illness or other kinds of services that are there before they go out to the outside, they can, and it's been highly successful. The point is that we need more of that kind of thinking, that kind of policy in our state government to help stem the tide of what we're seeing here now with mental illness and substance abuse, particularly with this opioid epidemic. So I'm hoping that the legislative leadership, along with Governor Cooper, will take charge of this and start steering us, because this is where these people are captured and this is where they end up.
We could hope that's one area where they could work together with.
Absolutely.
Rick Henderson, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
When we were talking about redistricting, one of the things that was coming up quite often in the arguments the Democrats were making in the General Assembly was that it's past time to go to some sort of independent or separate redistricting commission. Of course, this is something that John Locke Foundation, for instance, has been talking about since the 1990s. And now we may actually see some movement in that regard, not because Republicans or Democrats want to get out of power or give up power, but it might be because they want to stay out of court. That maybe if you could have some independent group that still has to have its maps approved by the General Assembly, because constitutionally that's essential. But as long as you have somebody else drawing the maps and the lawmakers then approve it, then it might cut down on some of these court challenges, and it might actually make maps that make a little more sense.
Interesting point. Leo Daughtry, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show?
When we talked about the deaths in prison, it brought back memories of the Great Recession when we were in the General Assembly and we had to cut, I mean literally cut each agency because we didn't have the money. And one of the areas we cut was prisons. And we were told then that the people that are guarding our prisoners, you can't hire anymore, you can't find anyone to work because you don't pay them enough. And what happens is you get the wrong kind of people as guards, and that's a real problem.
Gosh, I remember back in the 90s when we were having, again, another one of those recessionary periods, and we were hot bunking prisoners in our prisons. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
It was quite an affair. Well, thank you for watching the After Spin. We'll have more videos all during the week on ncspin.com.